Here we are on Godchild Radio, Episode 1, Volume 1. Dustin Saylor, Cy Richardson coming to you live from Santa Rosa, California, underground on the late midnight hour.
So underground. What do you think of that song, man?
I thought that was great, man. I thought that was great. Have a seat. Pull right up.
Thank you.
So, well, here we are. This is a wing it radio. Is that what we decided?
I guess, yeah. I guess we're just winging it. I don't really know why yet, but we're figuring it out as we go.
Right. That's definitely true. What is our what's our goal with this radio station?
Oh, man.
So I think what I've heard articulated, let me jump in here and see if I can help out, is that, there's a lot of people out there who are looking for some sort of connection or some sort of outlet for this hunger to know or this curiosity or whatever it is in them, and that the current religious establishment is just kind of a turnoff for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's interesting how people's attitudes towards church is so hostile. It's like you can just really sense it in the way people just their reaction to anything that has to do with religion. It's like you can't even almost say, you can't say certain words that just trigger religious associations because the conversation ends like immediately.
Yeah.
So it's like how but then it's like if you've been in church and you've grown up in the church, you also see that there's a lot of good that comes from being involved in a community of people that is trying to express their ideas of something more that's out there.
Right.
So
well, there's going to be a certain segment of people who say, whatever, but I'm like atheist or agnostic and I'm committed in that. But then there's a whole much larger segment of people who are curious or they don't really know how to approach it, but they're not big evangelistic types. They have no evangelism interest at all. They just want to have a private relationship and a place where they can just, not have to live by a code of rules established by some elder group generations ago.
Yeah, especially since some of it really doesn't make sense.
Well, it doesn't in context of today's life, but maybe it did then.
Well, yes, it did then. But that's the thing is, what do you pull from religion then? How do you push it forward?
I don't have the answer to that. That's like the age-old question, I think, isn't it? And what's with this religion thing? Why can't we just have like the relationship with, because, there was a time when the only people who could talk to God are the church elite, right?
Yeah.
Everyone else had to talk to God through the church elite. You'd have to go to like the head rabbi and say, will you ask God to heal my daughter or something?
Wow, yeah.
They couldn't talk directly. And our whole thing is like, well, we don't need that whole infrastructure telling us that, if we participate in it, then we can reach this place.
Maybe it's just the way the human mind has understood, what God means. Because
are we getting smarter?
I just think that because of our experience with the world and our ability to be able to communicate and understand the world in which we live has constantly pushed our consciousness further and further, right? We used to think the world was flat, now we don't. Just basic ideas that everyone accepts as truth and wasn't that way 100 years ago, but the reason why it is that way today because the conversation has gotten so large, so big to the point where everyone just knows certain things to be true, and then that actually pushes the idea of what God is. Like when we started to learn that earthquakes happen because of plate tectonics, right? Plate tectonics, or, not mad because God got mad at us, that all of a sudden changed the whole idea and the role of God in our consciousness. You know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden it's like, wait, God's not mad at me, that's not why there's an earthquake. So
Yeah.
I used to, why would I think that before? So it's like that, it's because God is this thing that's it's not tangible, you can't describe it, you can't fully understand it. The only way you can really talk about it is in metaphor, and then that just leaves it to be super vague. But that's
And
the whole thing about it.
I think that one of the interesting things is that we're all wired differently in our brains, so it means something different to each one of us.
How could it not, right?
And I think what, like, the organized religions, I mean, they have a doctrine that's written down, you understand these are the rules of the, presbytery, or these are the rules of, the synagogue, or, whatever, and those are the rules that you're supposed to follow, but I guess there are only 10 commandments, and everything after that is sort of,
Yeah.
made up.
I mean, the 10 Commandments, even in and of themselves, are kind of, they're great, and they make sense, but still, it's like, they're not even fully developed, you know what I mean?
So, folks, we're getting back to the original question is, what is the emphasis of this radio, this show, this effort that we're doing here?
I think it's just to hopefully push the conversation forward in a positive way. Try to get people to look at it maybe through a different lens and just be open to that idea. And to not be scared of it, because if something is true, in time it will prove itself.
Yeah.
So it's
stand the test of time.
If you're pushing the conversation forward and then in time you realize that it was wrong, then the way it has always been will end up to be true in the end anyways. But just in that conflict, that's gaining understanding and pushing something forward is like really scary to do.
Yeah.
But it's how we survive. I mean, everything has to evolve. It's just the way it works. You have to be willing to change and let go of things, or you will not survive. That's just how life is. So religion, in order for it to sustain itself in the human mind, it has to evolve. It has to evolve. Or else it won't survive. It'll survive in really dysfunctional ways, which we're seeing happening right now in our country, actually. We're seeing religion expressed in really dysfunctional ways, and it's really weird. And so I think it has to evolve, or else it just has to. It's just the way it is.
Well, you bring up some very, very interesting points, and I think that's what we will focus on. Is we will focus on the issues of today and the evolution of the concept of God in our lives in a modern era. I mean, as belief evolves, the way that belief is interacting with the world around has to evolve too.
Exactly, it has to.
And so, folks, that's what we're trying to do. So your feedback is most welcome. Thank you, Dustin. Right on, bro.
Thank you. All right.